Mayor's on, no, thank you. Okay. All right.
By the way, any of us sitting up here are also invited to go
Absolutely.
join the Meals on Wheels drivers to see what they do.
Actually, anytime. I mean, they do a big promotion during the month of March, but anytime anybody has any interest in it, we'll be happy to show you.
It's great to see the system at work.
Yeah.
Fabulous. And Steve's been volunteering over there for a whole long time, for those who don't know that.
And it's very much volunteer supported. It's So, my budget, the major change this year is the fact, or has been propelled because I have a 20-year employee retiring in July. And with that, I took the opportunity to look at sort of the jobs at the senior center and try to revamp some of people's responsibilities. One, to get a little bit off of me, and two, to try to pick up some of the duties that I've been hearing from the different boards that they want the senior center to do, particularly fundraising and volunteer recruitment. So what I'm looking to do is to change a program assistant position to a program coordinator position, and that's essentially a wash because she's been with us for 20 years. She's at the top of her pay scale, and the program coordinator coming in would be at the bottom of that pay scale. And then changing the administrative secretary position to a position that I'm calling senior center associate, and just having that position reflect more of what happens in the senior center, which is different than other offices in that there's a lot more hands-on driving vehicles, moving furniture, setting up programs, cooking in the kitchen or driving Meals on Wheels, which doesn't happen very often. But it's the positions in the senior center are really not office specific. They really are institution specific, and that goes out into the community and everything else. So those are the changes that I'm looking for. My intention is to be able to start some fundraising, because what I'm hearing from the different boards is that they really would like to see some of my revenues come up, and I don't want to put the revenue generation on the backs of the people that I'm trying to serve. When I'm pricing things out, I'm looking at folks that are living on Social Security, and that's what they have. And for me to then pass costs on to them, I'll just lose participants, and that's a no-win for anybody. So it's a benefit to me to have somebody that can help me start fundraising so that we can sort of fill in where the revenues are coming short. So that's, in a nutshell, what I'm looking to do.
Again, no new bodies. We're just we are taking the same two positions, if you will, and changing them to better suit, better serve the growing population of the senior center.
Kathy, are there any grant programs out there that are available that we're not taking advantage of because we don't have grant writers or?
I write a grant every year for transportation. You don't see that because that money gets pooled together and the town of Groton acts as the fiduciary, so you don't see that.
Okay.
Every few years I write a grant to purchase a vehicle. There's not really grants for staff.
Right. No, I understand.
Now, for programs, potentially. But, we keep an eye out. The senior center directors in southeastern Connecticut are all pretty good friends, and we keep an eye out for what's coming down the pike, who knows about something, and we all let each other know. So to answer your question, there's probably not grants out there that I'm not aware of.
Okay. Any other questions? Beth?
Kathy, like your revenue, you're projecting it upward in this coming budget. Is that because of the positions, or
It's a little bit because
your
I think
actuals end up being?
I think it's two things. I think we are going to start some fundraising, so that'll start to bring some money in, and we're just offering more programs. It's just, and I'd like to take the credit and say I am so creative, and that's why we have these great programs. But people are coming to me saying, "Hey, we want a drama group. Hey, we want to do ukulele lessons." And I keep bringing up pickleball. Hey, we want to play pickleball. I mean, these are just things.
We want bridge lessons.
I forgot about Yes. But,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
asked
So
that
people are
question.
coming to us to say, this is what we're interested in. So that's what's
Kind of a
happening.
driver too. And I looked just very quickly at your job descriptions for the new position, so, and your budget. So that seems like you're creating more flexibility, kind of like a continuum of the job responsibility, not just be stationary at the door saying, this is my function, but kind of when the person walks in, it could be many types of
We're all going to
different
wear,
touches and connections.
right,
Yeah,
we're all going to wear
right.
multiple hats.
Right, that's good.
And we all, let me back up, we all wear multiple hats right now. We really do. But I think I'm trying to have the job descriptions really reflect what's going on in the senior center. And that's not really what's happening because we're not just sitting at the desk and people are coming to us. We're out, doing whatever, driving a van, delivering Meals on Wheels, putting meals together, 4 Meals on Wheels. We'll be cooking tomorrow for St. Patrick's Day, so those are
Yeah.
not office jobs.
Right.
They just happen to be in an office building.
I just have the same issue, Anna, with the line 211. I'll let you do that research.
But if that changes, that's a savings that we found. That'll bring down our expenditures a little bit. You know, if the salaries are a little off on each one. Yeah, it's up.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Kathy.
Well, let
Thank
me
you,
just
Kathy.
leave you with one thing from CERC, the Connecticut Economic Resource Center. The population statistics, right now the median age in East Lyme is 45, and the 65-plus population is about 3,500 people, or 18% of the population. But the big thing is from 50 on up is 7,900 people, or 41% of the population is 50 or above. Now, does that mean that, your 50-year-old neighbor's coming to the senior center? No, but maybe they're coming to the senior center to find out programs for their parents. So
Yeah.
there's a,
Good point.
I have the aging demographics behind me. I have the population statistics behind me.
You sure
so.
do. Thank you, Kathy,
Thanks,
for all you
You're
do.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would it be in the chairman's pleasure to maybe move the police budget up, just so Mr. Blanchett can give his report, and then Mr. Sergeant Blanchett
Yes.
to give his report, and then he can go home to his family?
That's fine.
He's had a long day
There's
on the road.
standing room only back there. We'll see if he can work his way to the podium. So we're going to switch and go to Department 216,
216.
Police. Good evening, Sergeant.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Apologize for my my attire. I was at training all day.
It's all right. We like to see that.
I didn't recognize you.
That's good. That's good.
I thought you were applying for
Right.
building official jobs.
Right.
Never know.
That's because his lights aren't flashing. He pulled over on the side of the road.
Sergeant Blanchett assures me this is as flat a budget as he can provide. That the increases you'll see are wages and the benefits that go along with that, the longevity, the step increases, all the things that go along. The overtime, the part-time stuff, the foot patrol. It's all in there. You can, I guess. If you have any questions, or would you like to make a presentation first? Do you have anything to add?
It's up to you. I mean, I can go through line by line. There are a few increases. There were some that I asked for that have already been removed. I too asked for additional part-time help for administrative assistant. As you may or may not know, our building's open most of the time till late in the evening. Our secretary leaves at 4, our administrative assistant. We've provided keys for that front area, but it's nice if there's somebody in there. There's plenty of work to be done, but I understand with how we're doing fiscally right now that it's not feasible. So I'm we can certainly manage the way we've been managing with what we have right now. As far as the first part of the budget, with the exception of my wage, the police, obviously, it's contractually agreed upon. The administrative assistant is contractually agreed upon. You'll see there's a slight decrease there after our longtime administrative assistant retired. We have somebody else from that came from Parks and Recreation that makes a little bit less money, which is where that minus 6.43% came in. I tried to keep everything else flat, although the police officers and sergeants down there did get contractual raises as far as the foot patrol parade duty. Again, I tried to keep that as flat as I could. There's no increases there. There's a slight increase in overtime. And I've been here almost 8 years now. I would like to say that I've been able to control overtime, that try and figure out when you're going to need the overtime, but I haven't been able to do that. We've got one of our officers that's been deployed since September. Won't be back till next October, so I'm running a man down there. We had another one recently retire. We filled that with a trainee who was at the academy for 5 months. This is his last week on field training. When he gets off field training, he'll be taking that retired officer's spot. So we're going to make up some ground there as far as the minimum staffing. With the new contract that went through, the contractual requirements for officers on duty has changed. During the winter time previously, I was able to schedule 3 but go down to 2 officers on days and evenings. I can no longer do that. I have to have 3 scheduled, one of them being a sergeant for each shift now. And I mean, it's for the betterment of the town. It truly is for public safety. However, it's going to put further strains on my overtime budget. And I got a friendly reminder from Finance Director Johnson the other day that I am right up where probably don't need to be as far as my overtime to get me to the end of the year. So I'm going to have to be figuring out where I'm going to be getting money from to fill that shortfall.
You know, do you have any insight into, I know I was up to Legislative Office building last week, and they were bringing up, they were testifying on the resident trooper. I think it was having a much bigger effect on, there was 3 or 4 first selectmen from the northwest corner that really do the constables, have the resident trooper, and
Yes.
can't have the constables. What,
If that, right now, it's still 70%.
right,
However, with the fringe that they've put on, it's an absolute ridiculous amount that they charge for the fringe benefit rate. Should it go up to 100%, and not that I want to, lose my job here, but you have to start thinking about what's cost effective.
right.
If it goes up to 100%, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for a resident trooper. And again, I'm not gonna preach the state police line that you need us. You could do this with a chief of police, and it may be cheaper, it may not be cheaper. I don't know, but 100% is not fair to the town. It just isn't.
Yeah. And like I say, I think I heard from other towns that it was going to be a big blow to them just
Well,
on how they operate.
especially now, because
Yeah.
we've spent the past 3 months preparing our budgets,
Right.
getting them to the first selectman, to the board of selectmen, out of the board of finance, only to be told later that, you're going to have to come up with another $30,000 or $40,000 to fund it. And, where does that money come from?
Now, do we have a number on?
We use the figure of $45,000,
Okay,
and that will be in
Contingency,
a
right?
contingency.
Yeah.
okay,
So if it's needed, it'll be there. It's budgeted already.
okay.
We're preparing for that because that's what the state of the budget is at this moment. But we know that budget's going to be shifting quite a bit.
Sure.
We know that it has to.
No
Does
questions.
anyone have any questions for Sergeant Blanchette?
One question regarding the grant overtime. I remember back in July of last year, we approved a carryover of the UI
Yes, ma'am.
program
Yes,
of,
ma'am.
what was it, 12,400?
The way that the grant runs, it starts in September and it ends, it starts in November, excuse me, and it ends in September. So it goes into 2 fiscal years. And we had, because we had some foul weather, we didn't use all of the money. And instead of going back for approval again, we just asked to carry that money over to get us through the end of the, from July 1st to September, which we did. And now, again, talking to Director of Finance, it's a little easier for us to put it in the budget because it's going to be income as well, rather than go to a town meeting and then try and do it later. We can start earlier if it's already in the budget.
Mm-hmm, okay. Thank you. I appreciate your candidness, is that a word? Candidness with regard to
Thank
the
you.
State Trooper program, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's it certainly still is a viable program. It just, where does the burden lie? Does it lie on the town to fund the state? I don't think so, but again, that's just my humble opinion. And it gets to a point where you have to start looking at options, what's more cost effective for the town. And as I've always said to the first selectman, I appreciate the fact that I get to work here. I really do. I like coming to work every day. But you can't make decisions based on me. You got to make decisions based on what's best for the town. And I will continue to come to work and smile and do my best, to, as long as I'm here. But I understand that things change.
No, that's great. We appreciate everything you do, Bill.
I sure do.
And all the officers under you. So now, thanks for coming and presenting.
All right. Thank you very much.
Any other
much.
questions?
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
It's very rare that you get that candidness, that truth. And, Bill's, Sergeant Blanchett sat in several meetings that we've been talking about independent police force, that we've been talking about budget and can we afford this? Is the value there? What's the cost of the town if we switch? And that is a project I'm working on. And you'll hear more of it as if it becomes a reality to talk to you at this level. But Bill's actually there helping me come up with these figures and the questions I need to formulate and the things that we need to think about. And that's rare. That's rare. First selectman budget. 101.
Correct.
The one glaring percent jump you see 66.67% is minimal increase in the PT clerical. I have Darlene as my executive secretary. She's entitled to her vacation time. She's been here almost as long as anybody, and I just think it's important that we have our first selectman office manned. And then, when she's away and I'm up in Hartford or I'm at CCM meetings, and the door's locked, it doesn't send a very good message to our citizens who are trying to come in. And sometimes they're coming in for vital paperwork, et cetera. I'm just trying to make sure that, we have some office hours that are open all the time. This budget has been cut over the years. It was significant at one point. We'd have to go back a whole long time ago. But, again, I think it's just important that we have that office with a body in there at least 4 hours a day.
I was going to ask, how many man days does that represent out of the year? So,
I don't know. It's more.
Mandates?
man days.
Mandates.
How many extra hours? What are we paying per hour?
Depends on who.
Yeah, who comes in, but roughly.
Just
is it
roughly, is
15?
that 4 weeks of coverage out of the year, or 8 weeks of coverage, 4 hours a day?
I would say, probably about 6 weeks.
Six weeks at 4 hours a day, so half time to have somebody cover the office.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you that that budget line item has been, well, you know, we spent actually $5,700 in 2014, and there was a whole lot of time where the office was closed.
So,
Before my time.
last year, this fiscal year, we've only spent 64% of the $3,000 that we had in the budget for that line item. So does that mean your office has been closed and somebody hasn't been in there? Because you're asking for a $2,000 increase when you've only spent 64% of what you had for the year.
64% up to this time, so we're on
Of the
pace
3,000.
of the 3,000. I don't want to go personal, but I think there's some illness in that family.
Right.
And they
Yeah,
haven't
I
been
know.
able to take some time off. So I think there's, her time off is irregular this current year. Let's put it that way.
So the office has been locked.
I've been here every day.
So-
I can't speak for before,
Okay.
January, but for the most part, given the year that she's had and their family has had, there's been someone here. But I would anticipate a regular schedule again.
Okay.
Back to the 2014 actual expense, if you notice that, at $5,700. I wouldn't anticipate that would go back to that level, or the need would be there for that level.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
I get you. Any other questions on the budget?
No.
Again, Anna, same issue with regard to the January 14th appropriation.
It's a different line.
And hopefully it will be to my favor. Sorry.
All
Said
right.
that out loud, didn't I?
Finance, 118.
So, for the operating portion, I left everything at the same level that it is this year. One change that I did make in the HR office coordinator position, in the current year, we had some extra hours so that we could begin to develop additional accounting policies. But what I did for next year is I put the funding in the part-time clerical account for the same purpose, but just to have it in a separate account, and then also to allow me some flexibility in the event that if I have, for example, someone out for an extended period of time, which I've experienced in the last couple, actually these last 2 fiscal years, where I've actually had to get a part-time, someone on a part-time basis to come in and do some fill-in work for us. What I did is I used other bargaining unit members that work part-time and just gave them a little bit of extra time, to give us the assistance that we needed. And it worked out rather well because they were already somewhat familiar with the software that we use, so I wasn't training someone cold coming in from the outside. So, it worked well for everyone. And then I also, we had to advance one of the fiscal assistants, an extra step that we didn't plan for, so that's why there's somewhat of a smaller increase there. Because that union contract expires this June, so we have the funding for that in contingency, but I did have to make one step increase there for one of my staff members. That's it.
Any questions? Thank you, Anna.
So next is
419, health and welfare.
Is this a donation? Is this
Functioning Nurses Association.
So it's based on this formula.
Well,
Is
they
that a
have-
do we have something for 15? I just look at the top of the page. It has 14, 14, and then we go right to 16. Did we give up on health and welfare last year? And something we're putting back in now?
Didn't that department move?
Oh, okay, yeah. Nope, I see what you're talking
That
about.
was in the
That needs to be
We
changed.
did not give up on health. For the record,
All right,
Karen,
okay.
there's just a slight decrease. It's based on a formula by the Visiting Nurse Association. You see in the narrative, and you see they have a letter here. So any questions can be directed to Anna.
Do we have any questions? Hearing none. We'll close that and go to debt service, interest, and principal. We'll leave that on Anna.
Okay, so first is the interest, and if you just look down, you can see all the refundings that we've done, because each of the issues is labeled, whether it's a new bond or a refunded bond, and you'll see we have several refundeds. And I'll also point out that we have 2 drinking water fund obligations that we're paying on. The most recent that we closed on is the one that's labeled 2013-7022, and that's on the regional interconnection. And then in the narratives, it explains specifically what the projects were that we financed in each of the issues, and along with the maturity dates of them. And then the principal accounts actually follow along the same suit as the interest, because there's a corresponding principal and interest account for each of the issues. And then I believe also included in back of the redemption of debt is a worksheet so that you can just kind of see how the debt payments go.
Right. So we're amortizing what over the next, about $4 million a year, aren't we, for the next 4 years, give or take? I
Yeah,
think that was in
our-
our financial statement.
Yeah.
I think it'd be helpful if we had that chart next time, the graph that
Bar
shows,
Bar graph?
yeah, the one that shows,
It shows our debt and how
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
decreases. Yeah, that's a good idea. We haven't seen that updated. Want me to do that, or do you want to do that, Anna? Prepare that bar graph.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is. I think we're trending at like $4 million of principal reduction a year for the
I'll
next
do the next
4
one, you do
years.
this one. Okay.
Anybody have any questions on that? It's fairly self-explanatory.
Are we talking about both at the same time? Yeah.
Well, we did, yeah.
If we are, then I do have a question. I was a little bit confused. Okay, where is it? On page 2/2/2, the new general obligation bond, number 14 for $85,000. Is that a mistake? Should that be for the athletic complex and the Lager Hill?
Are you talking Department 522?